Hey YouTube, it's PB. First of all, thanks for tuning in to another edition of Life of a Jobbing Plumber. Now, you may have seen or you may not have seen, I did a review on the Pipe Lagger Pro. It's a new tool that's come out for cutting pipe lagging really neatly, really effectively. And I quite liked the idea, so I did a little bit of a demo, product demo on it. And as part of the demo, I had one to give away. All you had to do was like and comment about the tool or leave me any kind of comment to enter. And the guy who's won its name is Matthew White. So if you're watching this, Matthew, get in touch with me and I'll get this. We've got the Pipe Lagger Pro cutting jig and the toothless saw on its way to you. I'll leave a comment on your comment as well, just to let you know you've won, just in case you missed this video. So that's that. That's the housekeeping done. Now we'll get into a bit of plumbing. Right, I'm going to start you off with an absolute stinker of a job. Now, you'll come across these every now and then. The important thing is, don't let it get you down. Okay, it's not your fault. So, this job I was called out because the toilet was filling and the customer thought the boiler was firing up, but it wasn't. It was the sound of the toilet. So I've turned the water off, just draining the water out of the cistern. And what I want to do is take the cistern off the wall so I can replace this flush valve. And I'm going to put a new ball valve on it as well, a new float valve. But you can see here, where there should be screws and washers, there's silicone all the way along the back, poking through the holes, all the way down the sides, where the pan and the cistern meet. Look at that, it's just absolutely everywhere. The bloke has really gone to town on this. So you can tell by that it's a DIYer. Now, what that means is, it's going to be an absolute bitch to get that cistern off that pan. Now, I've come armed with a new float valve and flush valve from Viva Sanitary, but I'm not going to be able to use that now. So what I'm going to have to do is find the make of this. Now, this is a Siamp. I know these because I've come across them quite a lot. So we're going to have to get the same thing so we can fit it without removing this from the wall. So I'm back. I've got my Siamp flush valve. This is an Optima 50. You can tell there it's got the push button on it rather than the screw-in top button that this one's got. Now, the beauty of getting the same make is our new one, although it's a different sort of method of flushing, will fit on that plate there. So we don't have to take the cistern off the wall to do it. We are going to whip the float valve out, but to replace this flush valve, we don't need to take the cistern off the wall. So I'm going to stick a Viva Sanitary float valve in and then use this Siamp flush valve. So you can see there you've got the cable and the push button. Now the lugs at the bottom that are on that will lock straight into there. I'm going to try and film it so you can see. Just push it in and twist it. And that's as easy as that, job done. It always helps if you can find the same stuff. So this is the Viva float valve. As I showed you before, you can just adjust the height by giving it a twist. When you've chosen a suitable height, lock it in position like that. And then the float still will move around, depending on what you've got in your way, what kind of flush valve siphon you've got. So, and pop the water back on, and you can see there it fills from the bottom. I've mentioned this before, and you can hear it. It's quite loud when it's empty, but as soon as the water level goes above that, where its fill point is, you can hear it's a lot quieter now. And then we're aiming to get it to stop it roughly on that 6 litre flush line. You can tell here it's going way over. Now, what you can do on the Viva valves is, even when it's live and filling up, you can adjust the height on it. So you just hold on to it, turn it till it clicks, and you can push it down so you can achieve the right level of water in the system. Now, if you don't know how these push buttons work, all that happens is when you press the button, it lifts that central column up, which has got the washer on it, and lets the water escape at the bottom. So I'm just showing you there, just pressing it in and out makes the system move up and down to let the water out. And it's just a case of putting the flush button into the lid. There's no messing about. All the spare parts that you didn't use, that is the one that's still inside the toilet, so we chuck that. You get a spare one for different sizes. I normally chuck that, and then I'll just keep the 2 rubber washers because they can come in useful for repairs, and also the fixing kit because they can come in useful. Sometimes they rust or people lose bits, so I just keep them on the van. But yeah, that's it. Horrible job, finished. Right, so boiler fault. Be called out to an Ideal Logic, and the fault was L2, which is no ignition. Now, you can see here I've got the cover off the boiler. I've got to say, because I'm on these videos now, I'm showing more than I used to. I'm getting a bit more involved in the jobs. So I've got to say, if you're going to remove a cover from a gas appliance or do any work at all, like I'm going to show you now on a gas appliance, you've got to be competent to do so. So you've got to be, in the UK, gas safe registered. So if you're not gas safe registered, you're not competent, don't copy what I'm doing. I'm going to try and be as vague as possible, but I really want to show a few more gas jobs and sort of give you an idea of how to fault find, really. But I'll try and keep it vague. But the issue with this is an L2. So the first thing I do when I feel like my hunch is it's not sparking, so I've removed the ignition electrode here. Now what you would expect when the boiler comes to start-up sequence is this to spark. They spark between each other there. Now one fault that can be on an appliance like this is this one will come bent out of shape, so it will start to rise up out of the way. Then the gap between the two will be too great for the spark to reach, and the spark won't be powerful enough or hot enough to ignite the gas. A good measure of the distance is a pound coin. You should be able to slide a pound coin between the two of those, and that's about the right distance. So I'm looking at these, I've run the boiler, no spark. So if there's no spark there, then I go back to this, which is the spark generator. Now this has got a plug on it, which you can see there, live, neutral and earth. 240 volts to that, generates a spark through that, lights the gas. So if this isn't sparking, it's basically a sequence. So you work backwards from the bit that you think should be working. Now, because that's not sparking, I'm checking this. If I've got 240 volts to this, then this is the fault. If I've not got 240 volts to this, we follow this back down to the board, and when we check the board. So you just got to think of it as a sequence of parts, and then just start at one end and work your way through. So what I'm going to do is check that I've got 240 volts on this plug here. If I have, then I know it's this that's the issue. If I've not, then I'm going to look further back at the board. So I've done that. I've already tested that, and we've got the voltage there. So I know that this is the fault. So I've been to the merchants, picked up the replacement part, and then I'm also going to swap the actual electrode, just because if we look at the condition of the end there, and it's not had a new one since it's been installed. It's about 4 years old, this boiler. So I'm going to swap that as well while I'm here, because the other thing is you can see this seal here. If I didn't replace that, I would still have to put a new seal on, and that's really important. Anytime you work on a gas appliance and there's a seal, check that seal. If the seal is damaged, or if it's a rubber seal, it's not spongy, it's gone brittle, you want to be replacing that seal. It's really, really important. So I'm going to put a new spark electrode kit on and seal and a new spark generator, and then we're going to try the boiler. Okay, so you can see there we've swapped the spark generator and the spark electrodes with the dodgy seal on it. So if we just choose some hot water there. Well, we were getting an L2 before. You'll see now it's firing up nicely. So I went up yesterday, it's Thursday today, Wednesday, to Harrogate to Tool Fair. Now, my favourite kind of trade show is a trade show that has tools in it, and Tool Fair is one of my favourites. So I picked up my mate Andy Cam. He's a good mate of mine, known him for a while now. He does a lot of stuff on social media as well. Really funny guy. When we go on a road trip anywhere, I'm literally in stitches the whole time. He's just got me laughing the whole way. So I'm just going to show you now a few clips of the stuff I put out on social media. They're just mini demos of tools that I thought were interesting. Hopefully you're following me on Twitter or Instagram, and you would have seen a lot of it anyway. But for those of you that aren't, here's a few snippets. Now, I did film it with my phone the wrong way up for Instagram, so it'll be a bit shrunk on here, but just to give you an idea of the kind of thing you see at tool shows. And also, me and Andy, being the jokers we are, at the end of the day we had a little laugh, and I made him help me film a little sort of joke video, so I'll stick that on as well. Hopefully you'll find that funny.
Zyclops speed set. It features holding function sockets, hex and Torx. So we've got the speed ratchet, This has got a socket lock. You can offset it and also set it at 180. All the sockets have got a holding function. You've got 2 ball bearings engineered in there. On the hex, you've got twist to unlock. Ball bearing engineered in there. So that will hold like so. Similarly, on the Torx, it's got a tapered fit, so that will hold your screw. You've then got a range of bit sockets, so you've got all your common screwdriving profiles on a socket. It also features an extension. This has got a lock on there, so
Hi, David from Nipex. We have here the pliers wrench 250. Basically, it's our version of an adjustable spanner. Works on the push button for adjustment, but the key to it is that it's got these parallel jaws. What that means is that when you sit on the workpiece, you sit flush. Normally with an adjustable spanner, you kind of get a bit of play because the head's in a U-shape. Tend to find that you can round stuff off. Whereas with this, it sits completely flush, so you're not going to round stuff off at all. Even if you land on the shoulder, it just finds its natural position. If you set it slightly larger than what you're working on as well, you can clamp down and use it in a ratchet-based motion, so you're not having to take it on and off. Just slide it round, nice and easy to use. So if you're working in tight spots, at different angles, it's really easy to adjust. We're doing 6 sizes. The smallest being a 125, and we go up to 400. Really good for glanding, chrome finishes, any soft or delicate fitting.
Okay, today we have the Metabo SSD 18LTX 200BL impact driver. It comes with the new 4 amp hour HD battery, and as you can see, your setting for finding how much charge you've got is now on the front as opposed to the rear where it was before, and down here you have your different torque settings. You also have the automatic power shift here. We're now demonstrating its top speed. If we take it back out again, I'll now show you it in, say, speed 4, and you'll see how it slows down. So this is your torque settings. We're going even slower now. So if you were using smaller screws, this is what settings you can use on the front here. Very easy.
There they go.
So it's a normal cutter with a normal 50-50 split. When you push the power button on, it then becomes a 60-40 split. So all your power sits on the 60% side of things. Your leverage widens and your jaw narrows. So it gives you more leverage to cut through. It cuts through steel, metal, screw heads on an easy break. You put the normal cutting on again, it then becomes a little bit more difficult to get the leverage to cut through. It takes me with 2 hands. The power button will always separate the jaw to give it that even 60-40 split. Again, your power sits on the 60% side of it. The leverage, you have more leverage in the handle to push down for the power.
Cut. Strip. Twist. Crimp.
Hi guys, PB. I'm here with Andy Cam. Say hello, Andy.
Hello, Andy.
We're looking at the Power Pro 5-meter tape measure from IMEX. Now it's a really nice tape measure with a smooth action.
That's why I love plumbing.
Andy, at the end. Okay, we're looking at the IMEX Power Pro tape measure. It's got a really smooth action. It's a nylon coated tape measure and you've got measurements there on both sides.
That's why I love plumbing.
Andy, we spoke about this in rehearsals. Wait till the end. Okay, so that's the IMEX Power Pro 5-meter tape, and that's why fuck's sake, Andy.
I love plumbing!
Okay, that noise you can hear is the boiler kettling. It's just like a clicking, blanging, clunking noise. You can see through there the boiler's fired up, so it's running. We're getting a lot of noise, and that's because the boiler's getting too hot. The heat's not being distributed properly, so the boiler's kettling. Probably scaled up as well. So you can see there, it's not what I would normally think. If, let's say, the pump had stopped spinning completely, the boiler would make that banging noise, then cut off on its overheat stat. But as it's continually running, it's just telling me that there's a blockage, you know, it's choked up with a bit of sludge, or the pump is on its way out. It's not completely stopped, it's still spinning, but it's not spinning fast enough. One way of checking a boiler for circulation is to feel the return pipe. If your boiler's fired up and it's been fired up for a while and the return's stone cold, but your flow is red hot that you can't touch it, that's telling me that it's not returning. So the heat's going away from the boiler, but it's not coming back, so you've got an issue somewhere, and it's usually the pump. So this is the airing coverage. You can hear there that pump doesn't look, and it definitely does not sound healthy. So that's your first sign from downstairs. Your second sign is the noise of the pump, so we know it's the pump. We've got filling the pipes there. They're both red hot. Now I'm only calling for hot water at the minute, so that's also telling me we've got an issue with this 3-port valve, because it's open to let the heat go down that pipe to the radiators, and it should just be going through this top pipe. Now if you've never seen one of these before, this is a conversion kit. So it's basically the coil that would normally be on the side of your cylinder is going in through the top through a special fitting. That's where the immersion heater normally is, and that's because this cylinder has been converted from some point in its lifetime from a direct to an indirect cylinder. What I will try sometimes is just to change the pump speed on the pump, because sometimes it might not be working properly at one speed, but if you change it to another speed, it'll be happy and it will start working, and that'll be enough to get you by until you can get back with a new pump, or until you can give a quote to a landlord. But we're going to quote to swap both of these parts. Right, it's a couple of days have passed. I've put my quote in, got the job, so I'm back at the job now, and we've got to drain the system from this old drain cock. Now, what is the betting that is going to open? I'm not holding out any hope for that. Gives me a chance to show you my favourite ever hose pipe. This is a Dickie Dyer hose pipe, really thick, good quality rubber, and you notice you get these straps to hold it all together. Now, I'm dreading the day when I lose one of these straps, and I know it will come, but for now I'm being really careful with it. They're really handy to store it, get the van out, hose out the van, and then put it back together and nice and neatly without having just hose pipe coiled everywhere. You also get this Jubilee clip, adjustable Jubilee clip on one end to tighten onto drain cocks, keep them in position like that. Once you've got your hose on, you just nip it up and that will stay on now, it won't slip off, and you shouldn't get any beads of water dripping through it like you do on a standard hose pipe. So the first thing is, we've turned the water off, stop tap under the kitchen sink, so that's killed the cold feed from the tank in the roof, and then we're just going to open up this drain cock, and I need to buy a lottery ticket because that has worked first time. You can just hear the water now. Just pop outside and we can see it there running through the hose. I've not cracked it fully, but it is definitely draining down from there. So now that's draining. Isolate the power. Before you do any work on any central heating components, if you're not competent, if you're not up to date with your electrics, or you don't know what you're doing, just don't do it. This is just to give you an idea. So we're taking this 3-port valve out because, as I said before, when the hot water was on, it was letting the water go down the heating pipe. So we know that's broken, and also the pump, you heard the noise on the pump, that's coming out as well. So I'm going to be putting in a Welo, Velo pump, and it's easier for me to say the name of it than it is to get it out of the box. I really struggle with one hand. I am gonna get some kind of filming system where I can strap it to my head or something, and then I can work with both hands. But the main issue I'm going to have here is space, because it's quite tight between the cylinder and the pump, and this one sticks out quite proud. So system's drained down, so I've removed the 3-port mid-position valve. We can see there, even though there's no power to it, the lever's still open, which means it's still stuck in its mid-position, which is why it's letting the water through to the heating. If you don't know how these valves work, you have a port AB, which comes from the boiler, and then a port A, which goes to the radiators, and port B, which lets the water to the hot water cylinder. I'm going to show you this on the new one. It's just a paddle, like a ball in the middle, and it moves in positions between. So at the minute, when there's no power to it, it's blocking port A, which means the water can only go to the hot water cylinder, and that's its default position. When you call for heat, the valve motor energizes and it opens, and you can see there the paddle moves, and it will let the water now go to the radiators as well. So in that position, it can go through ports A and B to the radiators and to the hot water. Now, if you've got a customer who's got no central heating but they have got hot water, you can use this switch here to put it into manual and lock it in. You just drag it across and push it down into that groove, and that leaves the valve in mid position, which will let them have heating and hot water, and it can get you out of the shit. If you can't get to someone, you're too busy, you want to go the next day and they're saying that they've got no heating, you can just say to them over the phone, go to your 3-port valve, check that, and you can get them some heating overnight. And then I'm just showing you the different ports. So AB is from the boiler, and then B is to hot water, A is to the heating, and that's what that valve does. So one of the awkward things about being a plumber is jobs you've not done, having to do maintenance on them. Now you can see there, it's right at the back. They could have fitted it at the front, but they fitted it at the back. There's new pipes in front of it. You can't get your tool in, you can't get your grips in, you can't even get your arm in. And then to be able to get any leverage, if that nut was really stiff and stubborn, you wouldn't be able to get any leverage on that with your arm in like that. But luckily for me on this job, they're quite loose and I was able to undo them. But sometimes you will be sweating, swearing, losing your temper, because it's just not fair. You can't get into work on it, and even if you could, it's so rusty, it's so seized up. You need to get both arms and your foot on it just to get the right leverage. And again there, you know, your arm's trapped, you can't really put any power against it, you've got no grip strength. Luckily for me, they were really loose and I got them undone straight away. So that's the pump disconnected, and then the next challenge is actually getting it out because this pipe's in the way. So when this cylinder was converted to an indirect, they've not thought about maintenance, they've just put it right in front of the pump there. So we've got another battle there to get it out, trying it below, above, everything. I did get it out in the end, just had to bend one of the pipes out of the way. But you've got to be really careful. If you're bending a pipe, say there was a pipe connected to that cylinder on a flange, be really careful, because if you bend it and split it or disturb anything, it starts leaking, it's probably going to be a new cylinder job. So job's done now, we're just filling back up. You have to vent the coil because it's the highest point, there's 2 air peps there, so we let the air out, let the water in. If we didn't do that, if you kept the air in there, it wouldn't circulate, and you would know because your boiler would fire up and then cut out and you wouldn't get any hot water. So just letting the air out, letting that fill up with water there. As soon as you hear the water or see the water coming out, you just shut that off. And now we know our coil is full of water, so we're good to go, and we can test that it works. When I fill up, I always lock it in manual position so it can go around and get rid of any air. But when you're going to test it, you want to know, because we had an issue with the hot water going where it shouldn't, we want it to be shut so we know it's all working properly. So we're fired up now, we've got heat on that pipe, that's the flow from the boiler, and then it comes through the pump down into the 3-port. We've got hot water only on at the minute, so that's, the top pipe's hot, the bottom pipe's cold. You can see there I can keep my hand on it. So we know we've solved that issue, because before when we had the hot water on, this valve was opening and letting the water down through to the radiators, which it's not now. That's nice and cold. That one's nice and hot, so we know that's working. So we've got hot water, so the next thing I'll do is pop downstairs, put the central heating on, turn the room stat up, come upstairs. You can see there now the valve's energised and the heat is now going down the flow to the radiators. Job's good 'un. When I filled this system up, I had to go in the roof to find the tank because the ball valve was stuck, And you ever get that feeling that someone's watching you when you're at work? This job is a boiler service. Now, the boiler's downstairs in the kitchen, and on the side of the boiler there's a sticker, and the sticker says, this system is fitted with a MagnaClean filter which needs servicing every year. So I've come upstairs to the airing cupboard here, and there is a MagnaClean filter. I'm going to show you in a second. It's just below me there. I can't quite get it in the camera shot. So I'm just going to quickly show you a MagnaClean service, and then why the MagnaClean is my favourite filter. Now, there's loads of different filters out there, Spirotech, Fernox, Sentinel, and they're all good. What I say is, it's better to have a filter on than none at all, so it doesn't matter which one you use as long as you use a filter. But my personal favourite is a MagnaClean. I've always fitted them. They work well with my MagnaCleanse system flush unit. They were the first filter I used, and I've kind of stuck with them. Guess it's a bit of brand loyalty, but I've never had a problem with them. I've fitted hundreds of them. So this is the MagnaClean Professional here. This is the old style. The Professional now is called the Pro 2, and it's on push fit connections, and it looks slightly different. It's black. Same principle. The biggest difference is we can see there at the back. Instead of push fit, we've got these connections here. So if I'm servicing this, the first thing I'll do is turn the system off. So the pump's not running at the minute. You do get a tool with them, but I can't see one around, and I'm not going to nip to the van. So I'm just going to use my grips and isolate the top and the bottom isolation valves. Just give them a little nip with the grips, and they should be able to do it with my hand there. There is a little cut out there, and it's labelled off. So they're both into the off position now. So that's cut the supply of water to this filter. Now, you do get a tool to take the lid off, but if you've got a good grip strength, you can probably turn it. But what I will say is, if you do struggle to turn it, is before you do that, the best thing you can do is to just release the pressure by opening the air tap at the top. Now that will make it a lot easier for you to turn the lid off. So we undo that, and then we can take the unit out and then just flip it over. So by flipping it over, all the water now that sort of would have dripped off this goes into the lid. Okay, so that's the magnet whipped out. Now you can see there the plastic sheath goes over the magnet. And you can tell on this, there's a little bit, but there's not much. Now, this is the best thing about MagnaClean, because I can take this off now and I can show the customer. I can show them what it's done. And there's two main points to that. There's not really much on that filter. So I can say to the customer, when I service the boiler, this is what's on the filter, this is what the filter's been doing, protecting the system, but it's also showing that the power flush works because there's not much on there. If I took this off and this was absolutely full of sludge and stuff, and it wasn't an install I'd done, I could say to the customer, look, this is what's collected on the filter, your system's quite sludgy, you need a system flush or you need a power flush. And you can use it to educate your customer, and just also show them you're not here just, you know, to get money for servicing, money for old rope. You're actually doing something, and you're checking the system, and you can use whatever's on this magnet to either diagnose an issue or to tell the customer, yeah, your system's working fine, what job I did has worked, stuff like that. That's why I like a MagnaClean. On a lot of filters, you can't take this out to show. You just have to put a bucket under and let all the crap go into a bucket, and you've just got a bucket of brown water. So what you do now is you can take the sheath off, clean all this off, let it go down the sink, or clean it off with tissue. And then if you didn't know, on a MagnaClean Pro, this pot at the bottom twists off, and you've got an extra little section to pick up non-magnetic debris. So we'll clean that out as well. Okay, so clean the magnet off, clean the sheath, put it all back together, and we can show the customer now, that's the clean magnet, that's what it should look like. we'll put it back in and we'll check it again next year, and they can see that it's actually working. So that just pops back in. If at this point you wanted to dose the system with any inhibitor or anything like that, you can do it direct from the MagnaClean. I'll show you now. The other thing I like about MagnaClean is the bottle size. It's somewhere you can dose chemicals easily into the system. So we can pour an inhibitor or a system cleaner straight into this MagnaClean and introduce it to the system that way. It's just another thing I like about them. So when we're done, we just drop this back in carefully so it doesn't overflow. What I also do is I'll just show you. On the inside of the lid here, there's a rubber seal. I just run a bit of silicone grease around that. And then tighten that back up. Just dry it off, because then we can tell if we've got any issues. Shut the air pep, and then we can open it back up. So just turning those back, and then there is on the indentation there, again it says on. So that's now live, and then we'll just open the air point again. That's now live. And that's it, job done. MagnaClean filter service. One other thing to mention is we all fit, or a lot of us are fitting now, magnetic filters on new installations. One, to get us the warranty, but two, because it's best practice, and we all know that magnetic filtration works. Now, what you can also do is if you get called up to do a boiler service, it's on an older system, you'll find a lot of the time that people will ask you, is the boiler okay, and is there anything I can do to sort of prolong the life of the system? And that's when you can retrofit a filter. So it doesn't have to be a new boiler. You can drain the system down, stick a filter on, and that filter will then protect the old boiler and maybe prolong its life. At the same time as doing that, you might say to them, are all your radiators working? You got any cold spots? If they have, you can tie it in with a system flush or a power flush. But there's nothing to stop you just from sticking a magnetic filter onto an older system just to clean up the water, improve the efficiency, and look after that boiler. I'm always looking for new things to do on my social media, and I was watching Family Guy, and they always do that would you rather, where it's something just really extreme. And I thought I could do that for plumbing. So every Wednesday now I'm doing a would you rather Wednesday. This is the first one now. I just thought I'd stick it on here as well because it's only 30 seconds long. Let me know in the comments which one you'd rather do. Hi guys, PB. So it's Wednesday, middle of the week, everyone's feeling a bit so I've come up with a new feature. Now, in a nod to Family Guy, I'm calling it Would You Rather Wednesdays. So, first one ever, here we go. Would you rather do a job in a roof space on a really, really hot day, and you're in there all day, and you didn't know it was going to be hot, so you're wearing work trousers and one of those really thick polo neck shirts with a collar, and there's a load of insulation everywhere, it's all getting on your arms in the sweat and you're all itchy? Or would you rather do a job, let's say a really difficult job, really stressful job, where everything's going wrong and the customer is just watching you, and they're not talking to you, not making conversation, not offering you cups of tea, they're just stood somewhere, you can feel them behind you somewhere watching you work, and everything's going wrong? What would you rather do?